Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good evening, wherever you may be. We are here at the Peppermill in Reno, and we were lucky enough to have a friend join us, Steve.
How's it going?
Yeah.
For another episode of Variety is the Spice of Slots, where we talk a variety of topics while we play slot machines. Today's topic, we're going to be talking car restoration, because Steve is a little bit of a specialist on that. And during that time, what are we going to be playing, honey?
We're playing Dragon Link. Dragon Link, Autumn Moon. I've loaded $1,000. We're going to go 10-cent denomination, $10 bets.
And we have Steve here today. So we're just fortunate enough to be in the same city at the same time. And Steve, you have some family here, correct?
Yes, I do. My parents live down in Carson City area.
And one of your hobbies is restoring cars. Now, that's got to be an interesting hobby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've covered all kinds of different cars, from the British to the American muscle car.
Ooh,
There you go.
that's a lot of noise there.
That's not a bad hit right there.
Pretty decent. 144. Hey.
Hey, that's good. It's a little runway. And one of the things that you've been talking to me about, of course, is us working on a car together.
Exactly.
So if you don't know, we have a 1972 Oldsmobile Cutlass. This was...
Hey.
Wow, if we can keep getting Autumn Moons there, that'd be great.
Yeah, have her keep showing up like that. 44.
That would be fantastic. And Steve saw this car, and you really want to get your hands on this car.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been sitting in your garage for a couple of years now.
Oh no, it's just been sitting there for a few months.
Okay.
It was actually sitting at the folks' house for
That's
a long
right.
time.
Yeah, we've had it for a year now, but
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
haven't.
just get it up and running so you guys can daily it.
Yeah, which is it's my wife's brother's car. Unfortunately, there was a tragic accident. My wife lost her brother years ago, but we still have this car from, I mean, how many years has it been?
He was a teenager. This was his first car as a teenager. He passed away at the age of 17 back in 97. But the car has remained with the family
The entire time.
the whole time. Yeah.
So we've had this car forever, and Ryan did some very interesting things to this car. He was actually porting the back exhaust to shoot flames.
Yep. I saw some of that work in progress there. So.
Well, what kind of cars have you worked on?
So I first started in high school. My buddy and I picked up a 1971 Triumph GT6 Plus, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a fastback version of a small little British car. And we were going to put it back together and everything else. And he ended up moving. I was living in Colorado at the time, and he ended up moving to Vail right after he graduated, and put the car outside the house he was living in. Moved all his stuff to Vail with his parents. Came back, car was gone. But
The car, somebody stole
someone
it?
stole the car. No, it wasn't running. We just barely got the engine turned over. Everything else came back and stole the car. Someone stole the car. But where it kind of really got going on is his dad would always pick up these cars that he used for daily, but they always needed to work on them. So I'd come over there like 10 o'clock at night on like some random night, even school nights and everything else. And we'd be up until 2 or 3 in the morning just getting these cars to run so he could go to work and do whatever he's going to do at work. So I just kind of got trained by my best friend's dad on how to do these cars. He was an interesting cat. He was an electrician on the original SR-71 project.
Okay,
And-
what is the SR-71 project? Now I've got to ask, but before we get into that, let's just quickly make sure we've touched on the machine here.
We need 6 fireballs or 3 moons for
Three of those big full moons like that.
for the free spins. These for the hold and spin.
So what is the SR-71?
So the SR-71 Blackbird, it was the kind of the original hypersonic spy plane that was been used by the military and the CIA and everyone else.
Oh.
And so he actually worked for the Skunk Works for doing that. And that kind of gave him this background as an electrician, as a mechanic, all kinds of stuff. And he's just kind of carried that through to his son and myself, and we worked as a result. He was a very good mechanic, and I learned a ton of things from him because of that.
Oh, wow. So this kind of evolved as a hobby for you since you were a kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was something I always was interested in doing, which is funny because my parents hated working on cars. My dad absolutely hated working on cars, and I loved doing it. And it's evolved from there. I've always had something, even when I was in the military in San Diego, I had my first Triumph Spitfire. I still have it, and just kept it running. And my buddy, who was a helicopter pilot, he had an MGB, and we'd go up and take him out to rallies and take him out in the mountains and do all kinds of fun stuff to them. So,
oh wow, it sounds like a lot of fun. You know, the MGs are really cool cars too. Little two-seaters, convertibles. If you've never seen one, they're pretty awesome. But as any European car, they need a lot of work.
oh yeah, I mean, there's the saying is that if you have a Spitfire, you know where it is because it leaves puddles everywhere. They're like,
Just follow the puddles. We'll find the car.
that's pretty much the size of it. Yeah. So they're always leaking. They're always doing something. And
That's antifreeze. Oh, that's oil. Yep, I'm on the right track.
and then of course they had the Prince of Darkness, Lucas Electrics. So there you go.
So if you're a car guy, I'm sure you know what Lucas Electrics are, but I'm not a car guy. So it's one of those things that I love the classic cars. I absolutely love the classic 70s muscle cars. And the Oldsmobile Cutlass is that classic 70s muscle car. And I did some research on it, and it was the most popular selling car in the 1970s, which is good for us because there's a lot of aftermarket parts.
Yeah. I mean, just looking through the parts where we've been discussing, it's really easy to find parts. There's all kinds of reference manuals on them. Everyone's done work on them, so you can always find someone that's done something specialized. And so getting them and maintaining them and everything else is actually not as expensive as someone might think, and they're pretty easy to do. There's all kinds of different resources you can use to keep them up and running.
Yeah, this, of course, is in a time where engines were much simpler engines. And, oh, there we
Hey!
go. It's time for a bonus break. And look, we've got a nice big one up there, too.
$100 right there.
It's perfect.
Let's get a
We
word.
needed one. We were about halfway through our
We
bank.
did. Mini's sitting at 100, miner's 500.
See if Steve can help bring us the luck today.
Yeah, let's hope. Fill it all in for
you know-
281,000.
Our tens of followers will,
Our
be so
tens.
engaged of whether you've brought all the luck or not.
People will be finding this video for years.
Exactly. Come on.
Oh,
Need one more
let's
here.
lock in some good ones.
Oh.
Oh, right here. Come
right
on.
Here. Need it. Need
Anything.
one. Lock in. Oh, there we
woo.
go. Okay, so
Good.
there's a good $40
That was good.
hit.
Saw minor
I saw the
flashing.
minor flash over there. Minor is $500.
Yep.
The mini is $100 because we're playing the dimes.
Oh, come on. Keep us going. And
that's
that's it. Yeah. That's decent. 29XR line bet.
We'll set a little bit of that aside.
150, we'll say. Yeah. Hey, it's a start of something, right?
It is a start.
Go back to back.
Well, you recently told me you're working to restore a Jag. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I picked up a 1999 Jaguar XJ8, and mostly a lot of kind of cosmetic and interior work on it. But I'm bringing it back up to speed for actually my son, who had a 97 Jag in college and in high school. And
So 97, what's the difference between the 97 and 98?
well, his particular 97 was a supercharged version. So I was a nice father and gave him the keys to a 300 horsepower supercharged Jaguar so he could drive around high school.
Oh my gosh.
And that's a little crazy for a high schooler to have that kind of power.
Yeah, just a little bit. But he's a good kid, obviously, and good driver. And so he took really good care of that car. He learned how to do his own oil changes. He did his own brake jobs, those type of things. The only downfall was because it was a supercharged car and because of the year, there weren't that many of them. So finding parts was really interesting. And so we finally had to sell it because he was driving home one day, and we live on a hill, Trent and I, and he was driving up the hill, and the throttle cable snapped. It just snapped in half. Well, unfortunately, they don't make the throttle cable anymore, so I had to manufacture one from a bicycle cable and some parts at the local hardware store. I completely remanufactured the whole infrastructure to make it all work.
Wow. So rebuilding a throttle cable from scratch.
Very creative there.
And I won't say that you winked at me when you said he was a really good kid. Wink, wink.
Was this the oldest boy or your youngest?
Oh, just missed the moon right there.
Your oldest boy?
This is my oldest boy. Yeah, it's my oldest son.
Okay.
I was commenting on the moon here, trying to get us a bonus.
It didn't work.
It did not work at all. So now that you're working on this Jag, are there any other cars you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, so I have the Spitfire I mentioned earlier, which I just finished full nut and bolt restoration on. So it just went through its 1,000-mile kind of tightening everything back up. And then I have a 1965 Mustang, which has been in my family for 45 years.
Oh.
And I'm going to get underneath and do some welding on some of the exhaust to put it together. So it's got a few things going on at once.
So 1965 Mustang, we did an episode of Popular Cars by Decade as the first car. And that was one of the cars listed, was the 65 Mustang, very popular car of the era.
Well, what's funny about that is my aunt bought it from its original owner, and she drove it in high school. So she was a 16-year-old driving a little 65 Mustang around, and then she sold it to my grandmother. And then when my grandmother passed away, my aunt didn't want it. She doesn't know anything about cars. And she was like, well, do you want it? And I'm like, well, yeah. So I had her sell it to me for $1.
$1.
$1.
Wow.
I think you got a good deal.
I think that's a really good deal on a car. My first car was a 1965 Jeep Wagoneer. Now, it's kind of a classic now, if I still had it. But I referred to it as the best birth control my parents could have bought me.
Yeah, those are great cars. I had a buddy that had an 80 Jeep Wagoneer, and that was a great car. I love that thing. But the 60 ones, the 65 ones are great. I mean, you're right. Now you're untouchable for price-wise.
Oh, absolutely. They're I saw some restored and they look really cool. My daughter said, "Oh, that's such a cool looking car." And I'm like, "Yeah, it wasn't so cool for my generation."
Oh yeah, absolutely. Back in the day, that was like, it was a beater, and you didn't want to be seen driving those things around.
No, especially in robin egg blue. It was just this. It was like a powder color blue. It was terrible. But my brothers took it, and they were big car and body guys, and they ended up taking and welding metal over the back windows, taking the back windows out and turning it into a panel Jeep and raising it up. And they took the three on the tree out of it and put a new transmission in it. So it looked pretty cool when it was all done.
Yeah, those things. I mean, I can see where that would be a kind of a cool modification to that, because, and plus, if you're going to off-road it, you kind of don't want to have all the glass kind of flexing all over the place.
No, yeah, because it was, I guess you could call it a station wagon on steroids. It was just a big station wagon is what it was. Back in the day, SUVs weren't as cool as they were now. Well, we need a bonus here, really quick.
We really do. We're not, the moons just aren't coming.
Well, I know autumn moon can be fickle.
A little bit finicky.
This is the machine that I won the grand on. Oh,
that's
over at I was playing at Venetian one day. Got delayed for lunch. They told us it was going to be 15 minutes. Went over and played it. Was betting $7 and hit the grand. It was like 13,000.
Yeah, that was
pretty
nice.
amazing. So, what are some of your favorite cars to work on of all the cars you worked on?
So I'm partial to British cars. So I've done MGB, full restoration of MGB. My friend and I did a TR6 nut and bolt restoration. I have the Spitfire, of course. Both Jags have been a lot of fun to work on. So I'm kind of a British car guy. Although, since I have the Mustang, I'm really getting back into the kind of American muscle cars. And not so much making them hot rods, but kind of boosting the performance a little bit over stock. So I'm kind of partial to that.
Yeah, that's one thing I was talking to my father-in-law about the Oldsmobile. And he said, the front steering needs some work because it has the smaller tires on the front versus the very large back tires. And if I remember, I'll put a picture of it at the end of the video. It's a beautiful black 72 Cutlass. And he put the very small tires in the front. I think they're like, 14, 16-inch tires, or these tiny tires, and the really big fat tires on the back, which was reminiscent of the era of those muscle cars with the big drag race style tires. But because of that, I guess the front steering is it dives when you turn. It dives left, dives the right. And it's got a lot of sway too, so we'll have to look at that as we work on this car. But other than that, I mean, what is the most, I would say, interesting thing that you've ever encountered? I mean, throttle cable story is pretty amazing. But what other stuff have you?
Well, when he had my buddy had an MGB, he and his wife, we went all camping. The three of us went camping, and I had the dog in the seat in the Spitfire with me, and we're driving down the road, and I'd just thrown in some random stereo in there the day before, and little did I know that the connection wasn't as good as I thought to the electrician. So we're driving back down the hill back to the house, and all of a sudden smoke starts billowing out of the Spitfire. Oh, no. And the dog's sitting next to me, and he's looking at me like, okay. So it's this windy road, so I pull off to the side of the road, smoke's coming out of the car. Myself and the dog hop out. My friends stop right behind me. I know what's going on, so I dive back into the dashboard so my car doesn't burn to the ground, and pull all the electrical stuff out, and stopped it before it actually caught on physical fire. But that was,
wow.
But it melted part of the wiring harness, so I had to go back and redo part of the wiring harness and everything else in this old car, which hadn't been restored yet.
All because of a car stereo.
All because of a cheap car stereo.
There you go. Spend the right money on the right car stereo and wire it right too. Well, a lot of the, I had when I was younger, I had a 1959 Volkswagen Beetle. And it was originally a 6-volt system, and it had been converted to 12. But I remember the wiring was just spaghetti everywhere.
Oh yeah, that's pretty common on those old Volkswagens. My wife, when I first met her, she had a 72 Volkswagen, and it was the same type of thing where I ended up rewiring half the car and putting in a new generator and everything else just to keep it running so she could go to work.
Well, we're down to our last two spins here.
Yeah, we are. This is not going well. Come on.
on.
Last chance. Oh, the moon was a blocker.
All right. Well, let's take a pause for a moment here, and let's go ahead and try the Dragon. Can we get the lucky chance winner?
No.
Well, let's pause and assess. Well, we've decided to go ahead and cheat a little. We're going to have a cheat day while we talk to Steve. If you're liking the conversation with Steve and enjoy working on cars, we'd love to hear your comments. What car is your dream car, classic or otherwise? And have you owned one of these classics and worked on them? If you're a car guy, definitely chime in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. So what is the car, your dream car? What is the one that you want to work on?
Well, I have kind of two. So I'd like to get my hands on a mid-60s to early 70s Ford F-150. So more.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Cheat day worked out.
That's good.
There is a $500 ball, a $200 ball, and a $100 ball. That's $800 right there.
Right there.
$900. This is really big.
Come on, jackpot.
Bonus break time.
Oh, man.
Oh, I saw a really big number there.
Whew. Come on, big ones. Oh, there are some big ones in there flashing around.
And we were only $20 into our cheat day.
They just need a little bit more.
See if we can get one of those big
Come
words
on.
like the major right here on the end.
Oh,
Oh, did you see some of those big numbers?
I did. Come on, big fireballs. All right.
It's another $30.
Hey. Fill them all in.
Come on.
We got this.
Oh, here, let me give it
You
this.
magic?
I'll
Magic
give it a
spin,
last
last
lucky
chance,
spin
hun.
here. See if I can get it. Oh,
Hey.
no.
Well, that's okay. That was good. Had some really good starting ones there.
You know, I love it when a cheat day pays off.
Man, isn't it great?
It was like 2 spins away.
Yeah. Just under.
Just under the paperwork
Hey.
mark.
No
That
taxes
works.
on this one.
Hey, that puts us a little bit above
Yeah.
even. We're actually
Yeah, we put 1,500 in, and we have 50. Let's play it back down to 1,500. You guys can wrap up
we'll
your
wrap up our
last
conversation
question
here with Steve, and then we'll move on.
Wasn't that fantastic?
What a nice
Oh,
catch
man.
there. So you were saying the Ford F-150?
Yep. So the mid 60s, the early 70s F-150s, and then the other thing I'd like to get is an early Lotus Esprit.
Oh wow, you'll have to remind me. I can't remember what the Lotus looks like. I know it was an old race car at the time, correct?
So if you remember the James Bond movie, I can't remember the name, but it's the white one that goes and converts into the submarine and goes off.
Oh.
Yes, now I remember the Lotus. Yep, I remember that one. Okay, well, if any of you out there have either of these cars and are looking to sell one, Steve would probably be interested. You can send us an email, and we'll put you in touch with Steve. We're down to our last spin
Last
here.
one. Can we get the moons?
Oh, we can
That's
get a couple
enough
more
for-
spins, though.
Oh,
Four
that's
more
four
spins.
more
Hey,
spins.
let's see if we can get one more out of this. And moons would be great. Oh wow, look at that.
Oh, we
We're
got
just-
some tens.
You know,
30.
this is what we like about this. Is you do these spins, and then all of a sudden you get something. We did a wager saver spin one time on a Huff and Even More Puff. Ended up getting the hats and got the major bonus at the same time.
That
it
was
a
really
jackpot
cool.
nonetheless too. We have a
Right.
short that we did on Huff and Even More Puff Power 4, or Huff and More Puff Power 4. Same thing happened. Got a jackpot on it.
And that's it.
Well, all I have to say there is, phew.
That was a relief.
No doubt.
That's kind of like going out to the car and, thinking there's something major wrong. And you just find it was one little screw that was loose on an
That's
electrical
exactly it.
connection.
That's exactly it. I mean, it's something that is just totally simple. And
It's
then,
like I was ready to break out my checkbook and, phew, all I got to do is do this.
yep.
That was a good recovery. $5.40 profit.
Winner, winner. There you go. That's awesome. Well, if you like this episode, please like and subscribe. We'd love to do more. Let us know what you think of this episode in the comments. We're thinking of having more guests. We actually have one scheduled for the end of the
Yeah,
month as
we
well.
do.
We'd love to have you, leave a comment and let us know. And thanks for watching. When are we going to do this again?
I'm thinking tomorrow.
All right. Well, I'll be here then.